The brain is the most complex organ in the human body, and it is responsible for controlling all bodily functions. It is located inside the skull and is protected by 3 layers of membranes called the meninges. The brain is composed of 3 main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, and it is divided into 2 hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The cerebrum is responsible for voluntary movement, sensation, perception, and higher cognitive functions such as memory, language, and reasoning. It is divided into 4 lobes: the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. A. Frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is located at the front of the brain, and it is responsible for executive functions such as decision-making, problem-solving, and planning. It is also responsible for controlling movement and regulating emotions. B. Parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is located behind the frontal lobe, and it is responsible for processing sensory information such as touch, temperature, and pain. C. Temporal lobe. The temporal lobe is located on the sides of the brain, and it is responsible for processing auditory information and memory. D. Occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is located at the back of the brain, and it is responsible for processing visual information. Cerebellum. The cerebellum is located at the back of the brain, below the cerebrum. It is responsible for coordinating movement and balance, and it also plays a role in learning and motor control. Brainstem. The brainstem connects the brain to the spinal cord and is responsible for regulating many essential functions such as breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. It is divided into 3 parts: the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. A. Midbrain. The midbrain is responsible for controlling eye movements, reflexes, and the perception of pain. B. Pons. The pons is responsible for controlling breathing, sleep, and arousal. C. Medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is responsible for controlling vital functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing. In addition to these main parts, the brain also contains various structures that are important for different functions, including the thalamus, hypothalamus, hippocampus, amygdala, and basal ganglia. A. Thalamus. The thalamus is located in the center of the brain and is responsible for relaying sensory information to the cerebral cortex. B. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is located below the thalamus and is responsible for regulating various bodily functions such as hunger, thirst, and body temperature. C. Hippocampus. The hippocampus is located in the temporal lobe and is responsible for memory formation and retrieval. D. Amygdala. The amygdala is located in the temporal lobe and is responsible for emotional processing, especially fear. A. Basal ganglia. The basal ganglia are a group of structures located deep within the cerebrum and are responsible for coordinating movement. In conclusion, the brain is a complex and vital organ that is responsible for controlling all bodily functions. It is divided into 3 main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem, each of which has specific functions and is composed of various structures. Understanding the anatomy of the brain is essential for understanding how it functions and how it can be affected by injury or disease. By studying the anatomy of the brain, we can better understand the processes that underlie our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and ultimately, gain insights into the nature of consciousness and human experience. Thanks for watching.